Hey guys, Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. I'm standing at the back of my old shop. D-Day has passed. That was on Monday. It's now Thursday. Yes, I think it's Thursday. It's been a bit of a blur, as you can imagine. Nothing's happened here. The landlords have come and got their keys. The place is locked up. It's totally empty, as you've seen. They asked me to put the bins out, which I've just done. Thursday night's our bin night. There's nothing to get here. It's all finished. I was finished on time, which I was very proud of. So what I'm doing in this video is I'm going to relay in a tick. I'm going to relay episode 1 or replay for you to save anyone going back trying to find it. And we'll do about 9 minutes of a walk through the yard that I did about 3.5 years ago, something like that. Might not be quite that. And that's when I first started to do a great backyard cleanup as a series for YouTube. And at that stage, I had no idea, absolutely no idea that the building was going to be sold, that I was going to have to leave. I was planning to turn it into a highly efficient processing yard for scrap metal and e-waste, which it was getting that way up until this year when, you know, the spanner landed in the works and suddenly I had to leave. And much quicker than I thought I would have to leave. So the Great Backyard Cleanup series started as a slow and steady transformation, and it finished with a rush, a video every day for the last 10 or 11 days. It made 50, this will actually be 51 if I include this in the playlist, 51 episodes. And it's been a hell of a journey, I can tell you. But what I thought I'd do now is we'll pan back to episode 1. You'll hear that I'm much less confident on the camera. It was one of my early videos, but have a look at what we started with. Hi guys, it's Chris here from the Ultimate Recycler. Let's go for a walk around my yard at the back of the shop. Now, I can hear you saying, oh my God, look at all that mess already. But I'm doing this for a reason. Yes, it's a tad embarrassing, and I have to my defence, I have a bit of an excuse. I've had a hip replacement this year and I haven't been able to get out here and do much. I run a second-hand business, so I'm forever cleaning out people's sheds. And I grew up on a farm where you never threw anything out because it's going to be handy one day. But the reason for me walking around the yard, to show you what it looks like, is that it's going to be part 1 of an introduction to kind of the ultimate recycling at my place. Now that the weather's starting to pick up, it's almost spring, the days are getting nicer, they're getting longer. My hip's feeling good, I can walk much better. I can still hear you saying, oh my God, look at all that junk. But what I need to do now, the time's right for me to get organised out the back here, particularly because I'm now doing this YouTube channel on recycling. I'm also now taking e-waste, so I'm collecting people's old electronics items for processing. I'm continuing to clean out sheds as part of my business, and I don't like anything going to landfill. Now, alright, my yard looks like a bit of a tip, but in essence there's really not much rubbish here, and I'm going to clean this up over a series of videos that you can follow, and along the way you will learn lots of things that I touch on anyway. There'll be sections on composting and worm farms. I'll show you how to deal with all sorts of stuff. I do scrap metal as well. As I mentioned, I do e-waste. But there's also going to be things like upcycling, what you can use stuff for. So as you can see, there's lots of stuff here. That's a bit of a workshop I've got there. It's not very flash. It's really just a garden shed. Gives me a bit of a bench there to do stuff. So I'll be filming in lots of parts. And this is where I've actually started. This was a big pile of stuff as well. And I thought I'll start in the middle. Now I'm going to work my way right around the yard, process everything, set it all up properly. And hopefully you'll find it of interest. Now, you know, some people say, well, that's exciting, watching someone clean up their yard. But, you know, people watch Test cricket, don't they? So, go figure. Alright, now there's a fair bit of value in my yard as far as scrap goes. There's a copper hot water cylinder there. I've got piles of aluminium and stainless steel and drums of brass, and I get a lot of kitchen appliances and pots and pans as I'm cleaning out houses. So I'm going to work through this whole yard, get it organised, and there'll be a few little interesting things on the way. I'll break it down into segments. This is interesting well, not so interesting. This is an area of ground that I've just started to level out. And ever since I've been here 16 years, there's been this vine that overgrows. You can see it down the back there. It overtakes everything, and I found out that it's called a Madeira vine or a lamb's tail vine, and it has these potato-like tubers underground, and it also has tubers that grow on the stems, on the branches, and they drop down, and it's actually a highly invasive weed and needs to be disposed of properly. So I'm going to try that. You can't put it in the green waste bin because it then spreads to other people's yards via the mulch. So I'm separating it, and I'm going to try hot compost and maybe worms to see if they can dispose of it. So we're going to touch on all sorts of things in this series. Also, whilst I was leveling off this area, I actually found an old bottle. Now, those of you that follow my channel know I collect bottles, and I've done a series on them. That's actually a nice early, probably 1910 Chemist, so that's really interesting. Lovely bit of old china here as well. So we might even do a few parts on doing some test holes and see if we can dig some old bottles. But as you can see, there's old fridges, there's dryers, washing machines, dishwasher in there, a pile of old silver plate, which has a bit of value as scrap because most of the base metal is high percentage of copper. So there's all sorts of stuff. This little area beside my container, I built a little shade last year, and I'm going to set up a bit of a wood processing area because I get a lot of pellets. I do projects on pellets, and whatever's no good will end up as firewood. And I don't like using chemicals and sprays, so I'm going to try and get this yard organised so that I don't need to. So I can still hear you saying, oh my god, look at all that junk. But we'll persist, and this will be an ongoing series, and I'll pretty much just follow my gut with what I find. Nothing will go to the tip other than minor stuff that gets in the wheelie bin each week, but I won't be doing any loads to the tip, and this yard will be not only cleaned up and very functional later on, but it will be a highly efficient processing area. And you can see there's drums of cast aluminium here, and I will actually generate a lot of money in scrap metal and repurposing projects and upcycling. There's drums of steel along here which I did a video on quite a while ago. The old Toyota van is full of stuff. It's just become a shed on wheels now. It did a head gasket and it's not worth fixing. But as junky as it all looks, this is a back lane that I've got. As junky as this all looks, it will be sorted, organised, processed, and you'll be amazed what things I find out here that I can turn into stuff to sell. And as I said, there won't be any loads to landfill. So if this interests you, subscribe to my channel and follow this. I'll have a separate playlist on my yard cleanup, and I've started a little bit down the back here too. There's mattresses to get rid of, and I have done a video on deconstructing a mattress with nothing or virtually nothing going to the tip. I've also done a video on the old dryer bodies, which I fill with pressing steel. Those two are both full and they're loaded. I've just done this today. I've cut down a pallet and I've set the pallet on some tin to stop weeds coming up underneath, and they'll be loaded there, stacked along this fence line down this lane, where I can, once I get this cleaned up a bit, I'll be able to back my trailer down, and I've got a little crane on my trailer to load them, and I can do loads of pressing steel down to Melbourne. So it's all really work in progress. I'm only going to get 1, maybe 2 days a week, but once daylight saving hits, we get a bit more time after I knock off from the shop, and I'll continue to work on it all, and hopefully you can watch a beautiful transformation. This is an old chaff cutter I bought through eBay, and I've got a project in mind for that one, which you'll probably see on a video at some stage. Also, someone made up this kind of a fan assembly. I'm not sure if it spins there at the moment. No, it's resting on the dirt. And I have a project in mind for that too. So anyway, that'll do the introductory. You can say whatever you like about my yard. I don't think I'm a hoarder. It's really just part of my business, and for one reason or another it's got a little bit out of control because I do lots of other things. My partner and I bought a house last year and we've been renovating that. We run 2 shops, and we also play competitive table tennis and teach rock and roll, and I'm trying to set up a workshop at home for clock repairs, so we have pretty busy lives. But I plan to stick at this, and one of the reasons of doing a video is that it's going to make me do updates regularly. So I'll also get into that container at some stage. It's a 20-foot shipping container, and I've got a lot of treasures in there that I've purchased over the years, so we'll get into that at some stage too. So alright, thanks for watching. Look out for my next video. It could be anything along the lines of old bottles, or recycling, or upcycling, or worm farms, or compost bins, or spending a day in the yard here, and I'll do a video, and who knows what we're going to find. Alright, see you in the next video. And now that you've seen that, let's do the same walk. It won't be as long, but let's do the same track to the back gate. Okay, so I think we came out the back door and panned around. There were garden sheds there, of course, and there was a lot of, well, there was a lot of junk anywhere. It's pointless me saying that. You saw it for yourself. There was a fence here which I put up at one stage. I've left the one pole because it does support the drain pipe from the overflow from the spouting. And I think I panned around this area, and all that's left there is some garden beds that I used to do worm tests in. And then the track sort of meandered around this way, and I think I panned back over here. I used to keep my wheelie bins next to that tree, and the garden sheds were absolutely chockers. This area I had some more compost bins and whatnot, and there was piles of other stuff in the yard here. And right along this fence I had a lot of pellets set up with just, some of it was stock under tarps, and some of it was overgrown piles of scrap metal, because the buffalo grass here just sort of climbs over everything. And then if you remember down the middle here, I did have a little sort of a construction or a low building made out of pellets that I used to, it was in my original worm farm actually, and I used to just store the lawnmower and stuff in there, and as usual it just got filled up with junk. This area was my workbench area, where I had that heavy cast iron frame with a vise on it, and that has gone home. These trees, I don't think these trees were here. They grew by seed, and they came up as, well, they were seed from that great big one that was over there, and I actually did a video on when that got cut down. And I left these ones here because over summer they actually provided pretty good shade. They're clearly deciduous trees, they haven't died, and we're in the middle of winter, but they did provide good shade in summer. That's the remains of an apricot tree that fell over one time, and you probably didn't even see that in the first video. It was underneath things. This area I did pan around. That was my little workshop area in there, and I had a bench on the outside, and that other little shed extension I built many years ago, and I decided just to leave it there. I don't think it'd matter. So they're all totally empty. I've done a walk around of the yard to show you how empty it is, but I'm still on the same track that we walked when I did episode 1. I had panned back round to this area. This was the area that I'd first started to clean up, and I dug out a bit of that Madeira vine. Incidentally, the vine's still sort of growing, even though it doesn't look like it there, but it'll sprout up again. It's almost impossible to kill. I did try composting it. I tried mulching the what do they call them, the tubers, and feeding them to the worms. They did eat them, but the thing just keeps growing from the slightest cutting, so it'll probably be here forever. And of course the shipping container was against that fence, and the lean-to that I built for a bit of timber processing, and this area was just a mass of building materials and scrap metal and big long lengths of pipe and washing machines. That tree has also come up by seed. I just left that one grow. And then our track sort of wound a bit through here, and for many years I could barely get a wheelbarrow down this track because the sides just got more and more, I'd walk down the track and drop something on one side and the track got narrower and narrower. And here's the back lane, which was probably the biggest transformation. This back lane was a really narrow track, and I'm probably actually standing where the van was, so to get back on track I would have been about here. And then we would have basically weaved over to this side, and there was pretty much just a goat track down the middle. There was vines and grass growing over scrap to our left, and there was a big row of washing machines right down the side of this shed. There was mattresses at the end, I think, from memory. And so what now is a leisurely stroll that you could do with your eyes closed. Back then you pretty much needed a Sherpa and a map and emergency rations if you didn't make it. It was a very narrow, windy track, and I kind of like the yard like that. I've got to say, I'm comfortable amongst clutter, and I did like my yard, even though it was seriously out of control. But now, how's the serenity? I've said that before. I think one of my subs said that in a comment. The yard is just amazing. It looks so much bigger than it did. Even the landlords were really impressed. They just could not believe how big the yard felt now. So anyway, there we go. We've retraced our steps. You've seen what it was like about 3 or 3.5 years ago and what it's like now, and the journey I've taken, and a few things that I pointed out in that first episode, like the I think the chaff cutter I ended up selling, and I got about $300 or $400 for that. That fan wheel thing I just sold for $50. I was never going to get around to doing a project on it, and I didn't want to take too much stuff home. So okay, we'll finish this episode up now. There's a comparison for you. The journey has been an epic one, but a successful one, and the satisfaction of completing it on time is just phenomenal. It's just one of the best feelings. I don't like to be beaten, and I do have to thank my band of helpers, my family, and Dean, of course. I've mentioned that in the last episode. Without those guys I couldn't have done it, but they came along because they wanted to, and the universe helped me out with a few things, and the weather was nice, everything lined up, and now all we have to do is walk away and hope, because I'm next door with Christine now, hope I get some nice neighbours. So this will end this episode, and it will end the series, part 51, the final part of this playlist. I'm just down the south side, that's Christine and my shop just there. I've got a little bit of stuff back along this side because we have discovered that this lane is actually half that shop and half this shop. So we've got all the stuff off the property, and I'm actually going to maybe use this side lane to put our wheelie bins, and some of these crates I've actually decided to keep because I'm still going to take e-waste, and I've got to have somewhere to put it. I don't want to take it home, and I don't want to take it all straight to the transfer station every time I get 1 or 2 items. So it gives me a little bit of outdoor space here. We won't use it for shop stock, but it's just somewhere to put the bins and whatnot. So thanks for watching the series, guys. I hope you really enjoyed it. It's been a hell of a ride. So we'll catch you in the next video. We'll have lots more going on, more scrap runs. I'll get back into repairs when my shed gets sorted out at home. And I will do a video next, I think, of what all my storage facilities look like at the moment. So we'll see you then. Thanks. Bye for now.